The settlers run their eyes over the sight before them, an abandoned settlement devoid of life. These settlers are from the Greek city-state of Megara. They would settle this abandoned place, founding a city known to history as Byzantium. This happened around 650 BCE, and this new city derived its name from the leader of the colonists, Byzas. The city was free and independent for the next century, operating as it normally would. That was until a certain Persian empire came knocking at the door. Emperor Darius I, the ruler of the largest and richest empire in the entire world, approaches the city with his armies. He had already appreciated the strategic position that the city held. It guarded the narrowest point in the straits between Europe and Asia, and would be the perfect place for the Persians to cross into Europe. And in 512 BCE, the city became part of the expanding Persian Empire. This Persian rule would last until 478 BCE, when the Greeks, led by the Spartan Pausanias, pushed the Persians out. A period of Greek domination ensued. The city found itself under the spheres of influence of the city-state of Athens, and then from 411 BCE, under the influence of the city of Sparta. Over time, this Greek influence waned, as the power of the city-states lessened at the expense of the Macedonian kingdom. But even Philip I of Macedonia, the greatest king of Macedonia up to that point in history, actually failed to take the city when he expanded his kingdom. Nevertheless, the city would not try to challenge his son, Alexander the Great, as he conquered Persia. But as Byzantium remained neutral, it was able to remain somewhat independent and grow prosperous off its position at the crossroads between Europe and Asia, with trade from the Mediterranean, Black Sea, and Middle East passing through it. In 150 BCE, though, the city signed a treaty with the rising power called Rome. It agreed to pay tribute as long as their independence was respected. And as a result of this, the city seamlessly entered into the Roman sphere of influence, without suffering any consequences of a violent conquest. And it continued to enjoy the benefits of sitting in an immensely favourable location. That was until the late 2nd century AD. Byzantium supported the wrong candidate in a Roman civil war, and as such, the Roman Emperor Septimius Severus razed the city to the ground. It spent a few years as a burnt and abandoned ghost of its former self, until it was actually rebuilt towards the end of the reign of Septimius Severus. The city was fortified with a wall, aptly named the Severan Wall. And the city continued to grow during the Pax Romana. And then we get to 324 AD. The Roman Empire is now a changing polity. Its emperor, Constantine the Great, is the first Roman emperor to convert to Christianity. Rome, as the capital city of the emperor, was no longer the best city that could play the role of the capital. So Constantine set his sights on the hugely strategic city Byzantium. It was hugely defendable, strategically placed, and allowed him to easily access the more remote parts of the Eastern Empire, such as Mesopotamia. But perhaps most importantly, it was located very near to the richest provinces of the empire, ensuring that he would always have enough money in his coffers. Byzantium was rebuilt and improved on over 6 years, until a new city named Constantinople was consecrated in 330 AD. The Constantinian walls were begun to be built under Constantine and were finished by his son Constantius. This wall was just under 3 kilometers outside the previous Severan walls, and added a layer of defense to the new imperial capital. Then, under Theodosius II, another Roman emperor, the Theodosian walls were built another 2 kilometers outside the Constantinian walls. These became the main defense that the city came to rely on. In fact, when the armies of the empire were defeated by the Visigoths at Adrianople in 378 AD, the invading barbarians were dissuaded from attacking or even besieging the city. And when the Western Roman Empire fell, Constantinople was left as the heartbeat of the Eastern Roman Empire. The great Eastern Roman Emperor Justinian also ruled the Eastern Empire from Constantinople during his reign. The reconquest of the Diocese of Africa was facilitated from the harbour of Constantinople, where the great general Belisarius set sail in 533 AD. Justinian also built the Hagia Sophia, which is the famous cathedral that we all know of today. He spent £20,000 of gold to do this, and he built a cathedral that was one of the most, if not actually the most, magnificent of its time. It was finished in 537 AD. After Justinian's reign, Byzantium started to experience its slow fall. The empire was continually attacked from all sides, the Avars and the Bulgars from the north, and the Persians from the east. Constantinople was the bulwark that kept the empire alive so long, as the emperors and their people knew they could rely on the magnificent defences of the city in times of need. The city actually experienced a large drop in population in the 7th century, as a result of the removal of the Free Grain Edict. This was a result of the wars that the Eastern Roman Empire had with Persia, and these threatened the supply chain from Egypt to Constantinople, which was a problem because Egypt was the breadbasket of the empire. Despite this, though, and even after the Arab conquests of Egypt, Persia, and northern Africa, the city was still magnificent and hugely important. But in 860 AD, a new threat loomed over the city. A large fleet of ships approached the city from the Black Sea. It was a group of warriors from the Kievan Rus, a series of principalities established by Vikings in the Russian region. The attackers raided outside the city walls, but were sent reeling from a counterattack by the Byzantines and their navy. This was not the end of Constantinople's interaction with these peoples, however. In 980 AD, the Byzantine emperor received a gift of 6,000 soldiers from Prince Vladimir of Kiev. They were formed into the Varangian Guard, which the Byzantine emperor employed as his personal bodyguard. A number of hugely important historical figures were employed in this guard, at some point or another at least, including Harald Hardrada, a future king of Norway. The Varangian Guard became a source of glory for people all across the Norse world. And even in the 11th century, following the Norman conquest of England, a lot of Anglo-Saxon nobles joined the Guard and came to dominate its numbers. In 1071, the Byzantine Empire experienced its next large setback, when it was defeated at the Battle of Manzikert by the Seljuk Turks. By 1080, a large part of Anatolia had been overrun by the Turks, and they were within range of attacking Constantinople. And a decade later, in 1090, the Pecheneg nomads from the north attacked the city, but were once again annihilated by the imperial armies. Once again, Constantinople was the shield that protected the empire. In 1096, Byzantium hosted the First Crusade, at least for a short while, before the Crusaders got impatient and departed for the Holy Land before schedule. The city got richer over the next few years, and in the 12th century, that population of the city was in the hundreds of thousands. In fact, there was even a bustling foreign quarter of 60 to 80,000 people, and there were strong trading links with Italy, Egypt, and the Crusader kingdoms of the Levant. But disaster was just around the corner for the city. The Fourth Crusade was being convened, and was organized to actually convene in Constantinople. And the effects of this Fourth Crusade would be felt for centuries, especially in Constantinople and the Byzantine Empire. If you liked the video, give it a like, subscribe to keep up with part 2, and I'll see you next time.